From reality TV chaos to personal redemption, Ozzy Osbourne's kids have lived it all. In 2025, Jack, Kelly, and the elusive Aimee have each taken dramatically different paths away from their family's wild rock and roll past. While Jack thrives behind the camera and Kelly embraces motherhood, Aimee continues to guard her privacy fiercely. Decades after the Osbournes shocked the world, the next generation is proving there's more to this family than madness. Jessica Osbourne. Before Ozzy Osbourne became a household name for reality television audiences thanks to the Osbournes, the legendary Black Sabbath frontman lived a very different kind of family life. Long before his high-profile marriage to Sharon Osbourne, Ozzy was married to Thelma Riley, a relationship that began in the early 1970s, before his solo career exploded and before the chaos of fame completely consumed his world. The couple met at the Rum Runner nightclub in Birmingham, England, where Thelma worked. They married in 1971 and welcomed 2 children together, Jessica and Louis Osbourne, while Ozzy also adopted Thelma's son Elliot from a previous relationship. Among Ozzy's children, Jessica Osbourne, his eldest daughter, has perhaps remained the most private and mysterious. Born in the early 1970s in England, Jessica spent most of her childhood far from the glitz of Hollywood or the heavy metal stage lights that defined her father's career. After her parents' marriage began to crumble due to Ozzy's escalating substance abuse and the pressures of fame, Thelma and the children stayed in the UK, while Ozzy's life spiraled further into chaos. Jessica grew up largely with her mother and stepfather, distanced from the world her father inhabited, a world filled with music tours, tabloid drama, and later, reality television. When Ozzy eventually married Sharon and the Osbourne family moved to Los Angeles, they built a new kind of fame through The Osbournes, MTV's groundbreaking reality show that aired from 2002 to 2005. The show introduced viewers to Sharon and their 3 children, Jack, Kelly, and Aimee, though Aimee famously refused to appear on camera. Many fans were surprised to learn that Ozzy had older children from a previous marriage, including Jessica and Louis. Unlike her younger siblings, Jessica never appeared on the reality show, preferring to maintain her privacy. Her decision to stay out of the public eye reflected her personality, quiet, grounded, and protective of her personal life. Still, Jessica did make a brief, memorable impact on the series in another way. In a touching moment during Season 2 of The Osbournes, Ozzy received a phone call that changed his life. His daughter Jessica was in labor. Through that phone call, Ozzy learned he was about to become a grandfather for the first time. Moments later, he was informed that Jessica had given birth to a daughter named Isabel, marking a milestone that deeply moved the rock legend. That brief but emotional moment showed fans a more intimate paternal side of Ozzy, the rock god known for biting bats and snarling lyrics suddenly beaming with pride and tenderness at the news of a grandchild. It was one of the few times Jessica was mentioned publicly, and even then, she remained entirely off-screen. Jessica continued to live in England, far removed from her father's LA celebrity lifestyle. She has been described as leading a quiet, independent life, choosing to focus on family rather than fame. Despite growing up in the shadow of one of rock's most notorious figures, she avoided the spotlight almost completely. Over the years, she has pursued a modest career path and raised her own family privately, keeping details about her personal and professional life carefully guarded. While there have been occasional reports of family tensions between Ozzy's children from his first marriage and those from his second, both Jessica and Louis have spoken respectfully about their father in rare interviews. They've acknowledged his struggles and transformation over the years, from a troubled young rocker to a sober, reflective family man. For Ozzy, his relationship with Jessica represents both the complexity and the redemption of his life story. In his memoir, he has admitted to having regrets about the time he lost with his older children due to his drinking and erratic lifestyle during the 1970s and 80s. Yet, even from afar, it's clear that Jessica holds a special place in his heart. The birth of her daughter Isabel symbolized not only the continuation of the Osbourne legacy, but also a healing chapter. A reminder that family ties, though sometimes strained, can endure across time and distance. Louis Osbourne. Louis Osbourne is the second child of Ozzy Osbourne and his first wife, Thelma Riley. Raised in Birmingham, England, Louis grew up in the shadow of his father's meteoric rise to fame with Black Sabbath, and later, Ozzy's turbulent solo career. His childhood was far from typical, marked by the distance and chaos that fame often brings. While Ozzy was conquering the world with heavy metal, Louis and his sister Jessica were largely raised by their mother in the UK, shielded from the darker side of the rock and roll lifestyle that defined their father's early years. Despite his famous surname, Louis Osbourne has built a life defined by privacy, resilience, and independence. Like Jessica, he chose to stay away from the reality TV cameras that followed Ozzy, Sharon, and their children, Jack and Kelly, during the early 2000s MTV era of the Osbournes. But unlike his sister, Louis has occasionally opened up about his family, showing affection and understanding for both his father and his half-siblings. In a 2013 interview with Birmingham Live, Louis reflected warmly on his relationship with his extended family. He revealed that while they all led busy and separate lives, they tried to meet on special occasions whenever Ozzy, Sharon, or the younger Osbournes visited the UK. His words painted a picture of quiet reconciliation, a family once fractured by fame and distance, finding moments of unity amid their differences. Louis' life took a romantic turn in 2002, during one of the most symbolic moments of his father's career. While visiting Los Angeles to celebrate Ozzy receiving a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, Louis met Louise, a talented actress from Ireland. The two immediately connected and became engaged just a few months later. Their relationship blossomed quickly, rooted in shared humor and a mutual desire for a grounded, normal life far from the frenzy of celebrity culture. They married in Louise's native Ireland before settling permanently in Birmingham, where Louis returned to his roots. There, he pursued his passion for music, not as a rock frontman like his father, but as a DJ, producer, and record label owner. His work in electronic music gave him a creative outlet, while allowing him to build his own identity within the industry, separate from Ozzy's towering legacy. His wife, Louise, meanwhile, continued her career in the acting world, working in film and television. Together, they built a stable, family-centered life, raising 2 children and staying largely out of the tabloid spotlight. Despite his private lifestyle, Louis has always held a deep respect for his father's career and legacy. That devotion became especially evident in July 2025, during what would become Ozzy Osbourne's final performance with Black Sabbath, a historic farewell concert in Birmingham, the very city where it all began. Louis attended the show, sitting among family members, friends, and lifelong fans, fully aware of the emotional weight of the night. In the days following the concert, Louis took to Facebook to share his thoughts, his message later cited by the BBC. "It was hugely emotional for me," he wrote. "I was sobbing at times. It was everything we wanted it to be and more." His words revealed both the pride and pain of watching a father whose career had shaped generations of music lovers take his final bow. Louis admitted he had been anxious for months leading up to the show. Ozzy's battle with Parkinson's disease had been well documented, and his health struggles had raised concerns about whether he would be able to perform. "I just wanted it to be a dignified send-off for him," Louis confessed. But when the lights dimmed and Ozzy began to sing, all fears faded. "As soon as he started singing," Louis wrote, "we knew he was going to nail it." For Louis, that night symbolized closure, not just for Ozzy's fans, but for their family as well. Watching his father reclaim his power on stage, even amid illness, reminded him of the strength and resilience that had defined the Osbourne name. Through the years, Lewis has stood as a quiet yet steadfast presence in the family's story. He has not chased fame, nor has he distanced himself from it with bitterness. Instead, he has carved out a balanced life, one that honors his father's legacy while embracing his own individuality. While the world may forever remember Ozzy as the Prince of Darkness, Louis Osbourne represents another side of the family legacy. The grounded, loyal son who never sought the spotlight but remained deeply proud of the man behind the myth. From his modest home in Birmingham, Louis continues to live by the same philosophy that has guided him for decades: family first, music always, and dignity above all. And when the final curtain fell on Ozzy's storied career in 2025, Louis' heartfelt words echoed what millions of fans felt that night: gratitude, love, and awe. Elliot. Long before Ozzy Osbourne became a global icon of heavy metal, long before the Osbournes made his family household names, he was simply a young man from Birmingham trying to find his footing in life and love. When he met Thelma Riley in 1971 at the Rum Runner nightclub, he was a rising musician fresh from the early days of Black Sabbath, still years away from international fame. Thelma, a single mother at the time, had a young son named Elliot from a previous relationship. When Ozzy married Thelma later that year, he didn't just become a husband, he also became a father. He legally adopted Elliot, making him the eldest child in the Osbourne family. While Ozzy would go on to welcome 2 biological children with Thelma, Jessica, and Louis, Elliot remained an integral part of those early family years. He grew up during a period when Ozzy's career was rapidly taking off, and with that rise came chaos, absences, and the struggles that fame often brings. Still, Ozzy took pride in calling Elliot his own, and for a brief time, the family lived what resembled a normal life in Birmingham. However, as Ozzy's fame grew, so did the pressures that came with it. His heavy drinking, substance abuse, and long stretches away from home placed a tremendous strain on his marriage to Thelma. By the late 1970s, the relationship had begun to unravel. Thelma and the children, including Elliot, stayed in England, while Ozzy's world became consumed by touring, recording, and eventually his tumultuous new relationship with Sharon Arden, who would later become his second wife. Unlike his half-siblings, Elliot Kingsley made an early and deliberate choice to stay out of the public eye. While Jessica and Louis occasionally appeared in interviews or spoke publicly about their father, Elliot preferred a quiet, private life. As Ozzy's fame skyrocketed through his solo career in the 1980s, and again during the 2000s with the explosion of MTV's The Osbournes, Elliot remained invisible to the media. For years, little was known about him. No public appearances, no interviews, and no involvement in the family's various television projects. Elliot's low profile has led to widespread curiosity among fans of Ozzy and the Osbournes, many of whom are often surprised to learn that Ozzy has an adopted son at all. But those close to the family say his decision to remain private was intentional. He was never drawn to fame, and after experiencing the instability that fame brought to his parents' marriage, he preferred a life rooted in normalcy. While details about his personal life are scarce, several reports have suggested that Elliot developed an interest in the arts, particularly theater. Some accounts indicate that he pursued a career as a stage actor and director, working with smaller theater companies in the UK. His passion for performance, however, has always been kept separate from the world of rock music and celebrity that his father dominated. He has lived most of his life in England, building a modest but fulfilling career away from the media spotlight. Ozzy himself has occasionally spoken with regret about the distance between him and his older children, particularly those from his first marriage. In his memoir, I Am Ozzy, he admitted that during those early years, his addiction and career consumed nearly all his attention. "I wasn't there the way I should have been," he wrote, expressing remorse over the years lost to drugs, alcohol, and fame. Despite those struggles, Ozzy maintained affection for Elliot and the rest of his children with Thelma, even if their lives followed very different paths. When Ozzy eventually found stability through his marriage to Sharon and their move to Los Angeles, his new family dynamic, with Jack, Kelly, and Aimee, took center stage in the public eye. Yet, for those who know the full Osbourne story, Elliot's presence remains a quiet reminder of Ozzy's beginnings as a father and husband, long before fame reshaped his world. In many ways, Elliot's choice to stay out of the spotlight is a reflection of strength and independence. He has built his own identity separate from the Osbourne legacy, a legacy often defined by music, excess, and celebrity. Instead, he appears to have sought stability, the very thing his father's fame made nearly impossible in those early years. Though he rarely, if ever, speaks publicly about his family, it's widely believed that Elliot has maintained some degree of contact with his siblings, particularly Jessica and Louis, who also reside in the UK like him. They have favored privacy and normalcy over fame, creating quiet lives grounded in family rather than notoriety. Aimee Osborne. Aimee Rachel Osborne was the first child of Ozzy and Sharon Osbourne, arriving during a time when her father was carving out his legendary solo career and her mother was managing his business empire behind the scenes. From the beginning, Aimee's life was marked by fame and intensity. She grew up surrounded by the chaos of rock and roll, world tours, recording studios, and media attention, but also the deep love of a family that lived under constant public fascination. When she was still a young girl, the Osbournes moved to California, where Aimee spent most of her formative years. Life in the Osbourne household was far from ordinary, filled with eccentric energy, heavy metal history, and Sharon's fierce managerial discipline. By the late 1990s, as Ozzy's fame took on a new resurgence and MTV approached the family about filming a reality series, Aimee's future suddenly reached a crossroads. At 16 years old, she made a decision that would define her path. She chose not to appear on the Osbournes. The MTV reality show, which followed the daily antics of Ozzy, Sharon, and their children Kelly and Jack, would go on to become a global phenomenon when it premiered in 2002. But Aimee refused to participate. She felt, too, that she didn't want to grow up on camera. She hated the idea. It was appalling to her, Sharon explained years later during a 2018 episode of The Talk. And so she left at 16, and I regret every day that she did. It broke my heart when she moved. For Sharon, losing her eldest daughter from the household during such a pivotal time was emotionally devastating, but she respected Aimee's need for independence. Aimee later elaborated on her decision in interviews, offering rare insight into her mindset at the time. I had grown up around having a pretty well-known dad anyway, and I always really valued my privacy within that family, she told The Independent. And for me personally, and for who I am, morally and emotionally, I needed to give myself the space to actually develop into a human being, as opposed to just being remembered for being a teenager on a reality show. That choice set her apart not only from her family, but from the entire early 2000s culture of fame. While Kelly and Jack became instantly recognizable through the Osbournes, Aimee quietly moved out, determined to build a life and identity on her own terms. Like her father, however, music eventually called to her. In 2003, she made a small but intriguing appearance in MTV's musical adaptation of Wuthering Heights, showing an early interest in performance and artistic storytelling. Over the next decade, Aimee honed her musical craft, blending introspection with electronic soundscapes to create something wholly her own. She re-emerged in 2015 as the lead singer of the synth-pop band ARO, an acronym drawn from her initials. ARO's debut single, Raining Gold, captured both her haunting voice and her emotional depth. The song's cinematic music video and atmospheric sound established Aimee as an artist distinct from her father's heavy metal roots. I wanted the song to touch on how overwhelming and isolating it feels to be constantly misunderstood, she told Rolling Stone, and the importance of choosing to break free from that and just believing in yourself. It's so valuable to always try and put yourself in someone else's shoes. I hope this song reminds people of that. Through ARO, Aimee created a unique artistic identity, blending emotional honesty, vulnerability, and an ethereal soundscape that reflected her inner world far more than the public chaos of the Osbourne name ever could. In her personal life, Aimee has maintained a respectful, if somewhat distant, relationship with her family. She has often spoken fondly of her parents, particularly during challenging times. In 2016, when Ozzy and Sharon briefly separated after more than 3 decades of marriage, Aimee supported her mother privately, showing that despite their differences, their bond remains strong. Her relationships with her siblings, however, have been more complicated. "I wouldn't say there is an ease between us, but there is an acceptance," she told The Independent in 2015. "Do we socialize?" "No." Her sister Kelly echoed that sentiment in 2021 on Dax Shepard's Armchair Expert podcast, saying, "We don't talk. We're just really different. She doesn't understand me, and I don't understand her." Despite the emotional distance, Aimee and her brother Jack share a professional link through Osborne Media, a production company they co-own, a quiet sign of mutual respect and collaboration beneath the surface. Tragedy struck in May 2022 when Aimee narrowly survived a deadly fire in a Hollywood recording studio. She and her producer managed to escape, but one person lost their life. Sharon took to Instagram afterward, writing, "It is utterly heartbreaking that someone lost their life today in this fire, and we are sending our prayers to this person and their family. What happened today was beyond horrific." The event deeply affected Aimee, but reaffirmed her resilience and gratitude for life. Kelly Osbourne. Kelly, Michelle Lee. Osbourne was born on October 27, 1984, in London, England, the middle child of heavy metal icon Ozzy Osbourne and his formidable wife and manager, Sharon Osbourne. Growing up in the shadow of one of the world's most famous rock stars meant Kelly's childhood was anything but ordinary. The Osbourne home was filled with chaos, music, and eccentricity, a blend of glamour and dysfunction that would eventually become the cornerstone of the family's fame. When MTV launched The Osbournes in 2002, Kelly was just 17 years old, a rebellious teenager with dyed hair, a quick wit, and a sharp tongue. The reality show, which followed the family's daily life in Los Angeles, became an instant global sensation. Kelly's unfiltered attitude, emotional vulnerability, and love-hate banter with her parents made her an overnight star. But behind her punky fashion and sarcasm was a young woman struggling to grow up under the microscope of fame. Like her father and older sister Aimee, Kelly found herself drawn to music. In 2002, she released her debut album, Shut Up, which showcased her unique blend of pop-punk energy and emotional candor. While the record received mixed reviews, it captured her youthful defiance and her effort to forge her own identity beyond being Ozzy's daughter. She followed it up in 2005 with Sleeping in the Nothing, an album that leaned more toward electropop and explored themes of self-worth and personal pain. Although her music career was brief, it marked an important chapter in her journey, one that reflected her desire to express herself on her own terms. After music, Kelly transitioned to a new path that echoed her mother's career, in television and fashion. She became a staple of red carpet culture, known for her wit and fearless commentary. She co-hosted Fashion Police alongside Joan Rivers, appeared as a judge on Project Catwalk and Project Runway, and contributed to various entertainment programs. Her bubbly yet outspoken personality made her both adored and polarizing, never afraid to speak her mind, even when it ruffled feathers. In 2009, Kelly surprised audiences by joining Dancing with the Stars, where she finished in 3rd place. Her transformation on the show, from self-doubting young woman to graceful performer, became one of the season's most inspiring arcs. For Kelly, it was more than just a dance competition. It was proof that she could step out from behind her famous last name and show resilience on her own merit. However, behind the glitz and humor, Kelly was fighting a deeply personal battle. Her struggle with addiction began early. In a 2009 interview with People, she revealed that she was first prescribed Vicodin at age 13 after having her tonsils removed, a seemingly harmless event that sparked years of dependency. "I became dependent without even realizing it," she said. By 19, Kelly had entered rehab for the first time. Over the following years, she would seek treatment multiple times, confronting her demons in both private and public ways. She has since spoken candidly about her ongoing commitment to sobriety, describing addiction as a lifelong process, not a one-time fix. After 4 years of being sober, she experienced a relapse, but rather than hiding it, Kelly chose to share her story with honesty, helping others feel less alone. "I will always have to work at it," she admitted, "but I am stronger than I've ever been." In 2022, Kelly's life took a joyful turn when she revealed she was dating Sid Wilson, the masked rocker from Slipknot, someone she had known for over 2 decades. "After 23 years of friendship, I can't believe where we have ended up," she wrote on Instagram that Valentine's Day. "You are my best friend, my soulmate, and I am so deeply in love with you, Sidney George Wilson." Just months later, Kelly announced that she and Sid were expecting their first child. "I am over the moon to announce that I am going to be a mama," she wrote beside a selfie holding her ultrasound photo. "To say that I am happy does not quite cut it. I am ecstatic." In January 2023, Sharon revealed on The Talk that Kelly had given birth to a baby boy named Sidney, though Kelly wasn't thrilled about her mom spilling the news. It wasn't the first family slip. Ozzy had already revealed the baby's sex prematurely, something Kelly later laughed off, saying he was simply too excited to keep it a secret. Ozzy, ever the proud grandfather, gushed that he couldn't wait to spoil the baby, adding, "The first thing that I'm going to buy the baby is a microphone." By July 2025, Kelly and Sid took the next step in their love story when he proposed during Ozzy's final Black Sabbath concert in Birmingham, an emotional night marking both an end and a new beginning. In a video later shared on Instagram, Ozzy jokingly interrupted the proposal, yelling, "F off! You're not marrying my daughter!" Before Sid turned to Kelly and said, "Nothing would make me happier than to spend the rest of my life with you. So, in front of your family and all of our friends, Kelly, will you marry me?" Kelly said yes through tears as the crowd roared. From rebellious teen to devoted mother and fiancée, Kelly Osbourne's journey has been one of transformation, courage, and constant reinvention. She has stumbled and risen, fought her inner battles in public, and built a life filled with love and purpose. Though fame once defined her, today Kelly stands for something greater: resilience, honesty, and the enduring belief that no matter how many times you fall, you can always rise again. Jack Osbourne. Jack Osbourne was born on November 8, 1985 in London, England, into one of the most famous and unconventional families in rock history. The youngest child of Ozzy and Sharon Osbourne, Jack spent his early years immersed in the world of heavy metal tours, chaotic family life, and global fame, even before he understood what fame meant. For the first 6 years of his life, the Osbournes lived in London, before making several moves between the United Kingdom and California. By the time Jack turned 11, the family finally settled in Beverly Hills, where their lives would soon become the center of one of reality television's biggest cultural phenomena. When the Osbournes premiered on MTV in 2002, Jack was just 16. The show introduced audiences to the unfiltered, profanity-laced yet loving chaos of the Osbourne household. Jack, with his sardonic wit and rebellious charm, quickly became a fan favorite. However, behind the humor and fame, the pressures of growing up in the public eye began to take their toll. By the time the show was at its peak, Jack was struggling privately with substance abuse. In 2003, while the cameras were still rolling, he entered a 2-month rehabilitation program. His decision to seek help at such a young age marked a pivotal turning point in his life. Shortly after completing treatment, Jack told MTV, "I don't want my life to be controlled by a drug." Since then, he has remained sober, often crediting his recovery to a change in mindset and strong family support. After stabilizing his personal life, Jack began exploring new paths beyond reality television. He initially worked behind the scenes in music and television production before finding a surprising new passion: paranormal investigation. His fascination with the unexplained led him to create and star in shows like Haunted Highway and Portals to Hell, where he explored supposedly haunted locations across the globe. "I don't know what to believe all the time," he once said, "but there's definitely something out there." The genre suited him perfectly, allowing him to combine adventure, curiosity, and a touch of skepticism. In 2012, Jack faced another life-changing event when he was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, MS, a chronic disease affecting the brain and spinal cord. The news came just weeks after he and his then-fiancée, actress Lisa Stelly, welcomed their first child. Despite the diagnosis, Jack chose optimism. "It's just one of those things you take as it comes," he told people. "It's all about your outlook." His determination to live positively, manage his health, and continue working inspired many fans who admired his resilience. That same year, Jack and Lisa married in an intimate ceremony in Hawaii. Together they welcomed 3 daughters: Pearl Clementine, Andy Rose, and Minnie Theodora. Becoming a father softened Jack in many ways, grounding him after years of turbulence. His mother, Sharon Osbourne, was ecstatic at the thought of becoming a grandmother, joking to people, "I'm going to be the grandmother from hell because I am going to spoil this baby so bad." The growing Osborne family became a new source of joy and stability for Jack, even as he navigated the challenges of MS and life after fame. Unfortunately, after 6 years of marriage, Jack and Lisa announced their separation in 2018, finalizing their divorce the following year. Despite the end of their romantic relationship, the two have maintained a cooperative and respectful co-parenting arrangement for the sake of their daughters. Professionally, Jack has continued to thrive in television. He co-stars with his parents in The Osbournes Want to Believe on the Travel Channel, where he presents his mom and dad with eerie videos of alleged supernatural activity. Ozzy's dry humor and Sharon's skepticism make for entertaining viewing, and Jack's role as the serious investigator provides the perfect balance. "Some of it's hokey," Ozzy admitted to People, "but some of the stuff he showed us, we're both baffled by it." In his personal life, Jack found love again with Ari Gearhart, a Los Angeles-based interior designer. The couple made their public debut at the 2019 American Music Awards, and 2 years later, they announced their engagement in December 2021. The following year, they revealed they were expecting their first child together. On July 9, 2022, Jack shared the joyful news of their daughter's birth with fans. "I'm very happy to announce Maple Artemis Osborne. Ari and Maple are doing great and are happy and healthy." Now a devoted father of 4, Jack often reflects on how far he's come since his troubled teenage years. Once known as the wild, sarcastic kid on the Osbournes, he has matured into a grounded family man and creative entrepreneur. He has spoken candidly about the ongoing effort it takes to maintain sobriety and health while balancing fatherhood and work. "Life isn't about being perfect," he said in a recent interview. "It's about showing up and doing your best, no matter what comes your way." From reality TV to paranormal investigations, from addiction recovery to managing multiple sclerosis, Jack Osborne's life has been one of transformation, resilience, and renewal. Though the youngest Osborne may have started his journey under the shadow of his father's rock and roll legend, he has built his own legacy, one grounded in strength, self-awareness, and an unshakable sense of humor inherited straight from the Prince of Darkness himself. What do you think about Ozzy Osbourne's children? Leave us your comments in the section below. We hope you have found this helpful video. Don't forget to leave a like, share, and subscribe to the channel if you like it. Thank you for watching this, and see you in the next videos. Goodbye.